All right, welcome everybody to another Command Live. Today we are going to be going into a bunch of stuff. First, we're going to start off with the little coaching corner moment from Coach Eva asking to talk about some landing pages. That won't take much more than a couple of minutes. And then we're going to jump into some bold stuff. If anybody's in bold, you'll recognize Do the Database2 or DTD2. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that is and the strategy that it is and how to kind of implement it into Command and some supports I have in there for you guys. So I hope that you guys enjoy it. If you have any questions during the class, I am happy with you jumping in and just interrupting me. That is fine. Also monitoring the chat as best I can, just making sure that any questions that are in there are getting answered or getting looked at. I'm also going to be asking you guys to participate in the chat. And so if you would right now, go ahead and just put a hello in the chat. Let me know that you're there. I'm fine with you not being on video, anything like that, but please participate when I ask for the participation in the chat. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Look at these folks jumping in right away. Love it. Love it. All right. So I'm going to be sharing my screen with you guys and showing you some cool stuff. And so if there's no questions before I start, we're going to get into it. All right, give me just a moment. And this here. And we're going to share desktop 1. All right. You guys looking at my Command home screen? Everybody looking at that? Maybe some head nods. Yes. All right. Thumbs up. That works for me. Thank you guys. All right. Let me get my chat up too so I can monitor that. All right. So first off, I know that you're the coach over at Keller Williams Downtown. So I know we have a lot of folks on there from downtown and also some people from Advantage. So welcome to everybody from both offices. But Coach Eva asked if I could share how to make a neighborhood snap landing page. And it is really simple. And so I figured I could toss it into my class today. And we're going to make a couple of them just so you guys can see it twice. And to start, we're going to go down to the consumer. Anytime we want to make something for our clients to look at, it's usually going to be in consumer. And we want to create a landing page. So we'll just come up to the top right corner and click on create a new page. And since we want—
Hey, Stephen, I'm sorry to interrupt. I had a question. Do you have like a suggestion on what's better to do, a landing page versus like adding something to your agent site?
Yes. So the general convention there is if it's something that you want to be permanent, that it's the same all the time, that you want on your agent site. If it's something that's changing or you are only temporarily doing it or it's specific to one area, a landing page is usually more appropriate for that kind of situation. So when you're doing like anything that has a lead form on it, I like to do on a landing page if it's specific to something. But I have a lead form on my website that's just open and generic for anybody who's on there to give a lead. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Great question. Excellent question. I appreciate the interruption. And great example, Tony, too. So thank you. If you guys have questions, please jump in. So let's get back to it as a landing page. And we're going to create the page. And I like to name these pages whatever neighborhood we're going to do the neighborhood snap for. And when you're doing a neighborhood snap, these are very hyper localized neighborhoods, meaning that they are small. And so some of them are larger. It just depends on the neighborhood. When we do these snaps, we do have to pick one specific neighborhood, and sometimes the names will surprise you. So I'm going to hold off on naming this one until we choose the neighborhood, and you guys will kind of see why as we create the page. So I usually like to start with my agent branding at the top. So I like the branded header. It's nice and small, kind of inconspicuous, but throws in my branding and my face. Always like to see my face on my pages. And then I like to put in my legal footer next. And the reason is it's just tough to try and tuck ones in underneath at the bottom. And so I add the top and I add the bottom, and then I just start adding ones in between. It's a little easier to build it from the top or from the bottom up. And so in the spirit of building from the bottom up, I'm going to then put in my lead form because I want a lead form on this page. So if I'm giving it out door knocking, which I believe you guys are working towards building a link so people can go back or go in here for canvassing a neighborhood. And so if we send them this link, we want them to be able to contact us. So we drag in the lead form. The green line tells us where it's going to fall. If I pull it to the bottom, it'll come down below the footer, which I don't want. So I put it right in between the two widgets that are in there. And I let go of my mouse click. That adds my lead form. And then now I want to put in the neighborhood snap. This is the actual part that the neighborhood gets involved. So we're going to drag that same one in. We want it above the lead form. So we hover over the two widgets in between. So the green line shows up in between those, and I let go of the mouse. And it's going to load up a generic neighborhood every time, Barton Hills in Austin. And so we need to change that. And to do that, we have to configure the widgets. And so down at the very bottom right of the screen, you're going to see a button that says configure widgets. And when we click on that, it shows us the 4 widgets we have. They're all ready to go because all the information in there is legitimate and ready to go, but we do want to edit some of it. And right now, all we need to edit is the market snap, but I'm just going to click through all of these so you guys can kind of see how it works to configure some of these widgets. It's really simple. So let's start with our branded header. We have a few options to edit what's in there, and we can also add a title. And I'm going to leave the title blank for now. I might come back and put in the title after I have the neighborhood name correct in there because I don't want to do it wrong right now. So I'm just going to click this little green arrow at the top where it says 1 of 4 widgets. So I'm going to go over to 2 of 4 widgets. And now we are in the new market snap widget. And so first we can put a title up here at the top if we'd like. I'm going to leave it blank for now. And I just want to change the postal code. So that's the first thing you need to know about the neighborhood that you're working in is what is the zip code. So that's a good note to write down if you're taking notes is make sure you know the zip code of the neighborhood that you'd like to create it for. So I'm just going to go to my personal zip code, 80215. It's then going to populate the list of all the neighborhoods in that zip code. This list is a pain. It's not organized by anything I can see. It's not alphabetical. So you just have to look. It is helpful if you already know the neighborhood name. I know I live in 20th in Kipling. That's the neighborhood. If you haven't set yourself up on a neighborhood by adding your contact and putting in your own address, it'll automatically tell you what your primary neighborhood is if you do that. So if you need to know what yours is, add yourself as a contact, put in your address, and it'll tell you what your primary is. Put in your zip code, and you can create one of these pages for yourself. If you need to find it for another place that you don't live, you can also use your app, the consumer app. Because remember, we have 2 apps now. The consumer app, you can go in and find that neighborhood through that zip code by searching it in your app and finding the neighborhood of where you want to go to canvas or to door knock, whatever you're utilizing the page for. So I'm going to choose my neighborhood. Let's do a different neighborhood. Let's do Morse Park. Classic neighborhood. And now I want to make sure to hit save and apply down at the bottom before I move on to the next widget. If I click this arrow here, it won't actually implement the change until I hit save and apply. Now I see it updating, and it's updated to Morse Park. Over in Lakewood, I see my map is updated and my statistics have also updated. It's always worth it to take a look at the statistics. So you see, like in this one, there's no homes for sale right now in that neighborhood, which does happen occasionally, and especially in certain areas right now. And you can see it kind of skews some of the data because you can't get the average prices for no listings currently active. And so just take a look at the data, see if it's worth sending that out to them, if that's something that you like. But this I still think is good information because it gives us our average square foot price and total number sold in the neighborhood, pending listings, 3. So there is good information in there. All right, we hit save and apply so we can move on to the next widget, which are the easy ones. The lead form, we can change what the header says. Instead of interested, let's talk, you can change it to something else, but I'm going to leave it like that. I like the way that sounds. I can hit save and apply, but I didn't make any changes, so I'll just move on. And then we have our footer information that we can edit if we'd like. It's all filled out from my marketing profile. So if you're missing any information in here that you would like to have show up, you'll update it in your marketing profile. But I don't need to make any changes to this. It's all looking good, keeping me compliant, has my DBA logo, has my brokerage information, all of the things that I want in there. So now at the top, there's a little arrow pointing to the left by the title of the widget. And that's how I get back to my widget menu. And it's important to click this arrow, then click done before we publish the page. That'll just make sure all of our widgets are correct and have made their updates as long as we're hitting save and apply. But now our page is ready to go and ready to publish. So we'll hit publish page. And yes. To see the page, we just need to hop over to the landing page tab at the top of the screen. And it will be the first one listed. And I can click on that one and give it a moment. Zoom always makes this a little bit slow. But there we go. We have a functioning page, a lead form on there. If we get any leads from this page, it will tell us in the first note that it came from this landing page. And so whatever we title it is important because that's what it tells us where the lead came from. And so we can see this is an ugly title and I forgot to change it. So I'm going to make my mistake correct. I'm going to edit it and just come up here and call it Morse Park Snapshot. And then publish it, because then if anybody does fill out the lead form, I'll be able to look at that contact card and see the first note saying, okay, where was the lead source from? And the lead source will be labeled as the name of my landing page, which is now Morse Park Snapshot. And so make sure you change that title in there. Otherwise, if you just get that string of letters and numbers, it's really hard to know where that came from. The last step really in here is to clean up the URL. So we can leave this as all this stuff in here, or we can change it to something a little cleaner. And so we're going to change the URL to just Morse Park Snap. No spaces in there, so you just got to make it all one word, but makes it a little bit more personalized, looks like a clean link. I don't mind sending these links via text message. I don't mind putting these in QR codes. I would avoid using Bitly. It was really popular, but it's also really popular with scammers right now. And so sending people Bitlys or 2 Bitlys from some links, I would discourage you from doing that. But these links, you can see they're personalized to you. They do have your name in them, your unique ID, and then you're able to control the last piece after or before the HTML right here up to your name. Excuse me, up to your number, pardon me. Are there any questions about making the landing page, the lead form, any of this that we've gone over yet?
I actually have a question.
Please.
Where does this landing page appear or show up?
That's a good question. Let me show you. I'm just going to fill out some information here.
Okay.
And they do need to fill out this little I'm not a robot piece. Let's see if this will work. I was having trouble with this before. Oh, you know what I think it is Zoom. Yeah, I don't think this page works when you're on Zoom, which is with this little CAPTCHA thing. But what will happen, Nicole, to just explain, is when they submit the form, they'll get a little thank you at the top. And inside of command, you'll get a little notification up here at the top of the screen where the bell is. It'll have a little red dot. And then you'll see a notification that says new lead notification inside of here. You can click on it and it'll jump right into the contact. All right. We ready to talk about tasks and doing the database too?
Yes.
Thank you, Tony. We got some enthusiasm here on the call. So happy to see all you guys. I feel like I'm the only one happy to be here. Yikes, spikes. Well, so we'll get you guys back involved. If you're in bold, put a yes in the chat. Let's see how many of you guys are doing bold right now. I know I have some folks in here. There's got to be somebody in here. There we go. Right on, Jen, Mitchell, Kyle, Tony. Love it. I love it. I've gone through bold 2.5 times. I would call the ones that we did in COVID. Some of those were, that was only a half, but I love seeing that all these people are in it. And so today we're going to be talking about do the database too. I know some folks in here are experienced people in doing the database too, or DTD2 as it's called for short. And I'll try and refer to it as that now, DTD2. Basically, it just breaks up your database into chunks that you can call regularly. And the goal of doing the database too is to execute 4 calls per year to each person in your database. And that's based on the research in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. If you've gone through that, almost every single 36 touch they talk about in there involves making 4 personal phone calls per year. And we have some support inside of Command. We have all kinds of support inside of Command to help us make this happen. And first, we need to understand kind of the breakdown of what's going on. And so the do the database too separates your database by taking 13 different categories. Each category has 2 letters in it. And those letters tell you who you're going to be calling that week. And it just so happens that there is just about 13 weeks in each quarter of the year. And so if you call 2 letters of your database each week of the quarter, you're going to get through the entire database as long as you get through all of the 13 different letter categories, A and W, P and L. Put some other ones in the chat since you guys have been in bold more recently than I have. Some of the other DTD2 tags, because we're going to be talking a little bit about tags here to start, and it'll be helpful to have a few in the chat to refer to. But you make those categories, and then you just go in and you go through that list 4 times a year, and it's attainable depending on your size, the size of your database. There are databases that people do this with 4,000 people in it, and it takes a lot of work. If you have 200 people in your database, you can do it. That's only 4 or 5 calls a day. The more calls you have to do, just the more planning you need to do ahead of time. And hopefully today's class will show you guys how to leverage Command a little bit to make sure that it's happening when you need to. And all you need to do is go into your task list in the Command mobile app and start going down the list every week. And if you can do that, which I know all of you can do that to make your calls to your database, you're going to get a great return from your database, whether it's the people you're talking to buying homes or the ones that they're talking to about you that come to you and you get to help them buy a home. That's the whole goal of this. And so keep that in mind while we do that. And so are there any questions about the system that we're using, the model that we're using through Bold? Or does anybody have any questions about how it works or any of the details? I can't believe I explained that well on the first try. Jen, Mitchell, thank you guys for putting some of those other letter combos in the chat. They do have, you know, they're kind of clever sometimes. B and E, C and K, I and Q, you know, they try and be easily rememberable. All right, so let's start off by making some of those tags, because the first piece of this is being able to separate your database into these categories. And so we're going to start off by making some of the tags. Then I'll show you how to put people in those tags. And once we have those groups tagged, it's a little bit easier to start setting up the follow-up, so you make sure that this happens regularly and that you're reminded on time to make these different calls. And so to start, we're actually going to go into settings. And inside settings, there's a little part where you can go through all of your tags. And so once you're in the settings menu, where I clicked on my name, down to settings, over on the left side menu, I'm going to go down to command settings. And this list drops down and we see contacts as one of our options, the second one on the list. And inside of contacts, we have the option of contact tags. And in here, we can see our entire tag list. We can even edit the tags that we have. If people are even on those tags, we can still edit it. So remove a space, abbreviate something, extend something, capitalize, all those things you can do, and it keeps those tags on those people and lets you still edit them in this side of command. You can change the colors too. So if colors become important to you, you can change up that scheme as well by editing the tags. But what we're going to do is we're going to create one. So in the top corner, we can just hit create tag, and I'm going to use S and U. And so I like my tags to be really short, because if I have a lot of tags, it's hard to see them all in the contact menu in bulk. I can easily see them on one person at a time, but when I want to see a lot of people and maybe look at some different patterns or just look at my database, I like to see a lot more tags. And so I like to keep them short, no spaces, just S, the ampersand or the and sign, and a U. And I like these tags to be this weird teal color. And so I'm going to hit create, and I'll do that again for a couple more of the tags. We're going to do I and Q and choose my color and create tag. Not too difficult. Any questions about tags in general or about creating them?
I just had a comment in bold. It was 3 letters a week, and like it was 2 that you would call and 1 that you would text. I don't know if that was meant to be just that extra touch per year or per quarter, but
Yeah, Tony, you're kind of big time in me here. I haven't got to do bold 2.0 like you guys. But yeah, you're
okay.
absolutely right. Bold 2.0 adds in some different layers with texting, and I haven't gotten to experience all that in detail yet. And so we will be talking about that kind of stuff and how we leverage command. But right now we're just talking calls.
Sounds good.
Right on. All right. So once we have some tags in here, we can use the tags. And command has a great system of adding tags in bulk. And we do that through the contacts app. And so we can click the red KW, scroll down, we see contacts. And just for my people on the coaching teams, make sure that you're in your personal side or your team side. Knowing which contact database you're in is always important when you're on a team. Even if you're the rainmaker, I have to be careful for it as well. And so I'm in my personal side where I want to be, where I was adding the tags to as well. And you can't add tags to your guys' coaching team. So you know you will be in the wrong account if you don't see those options. It's because you're in your coaching side. Switch over to your personal and you'll see that contacts tags option appear for you. All right, so first we need to pull one of the tags. And so we can come up and use our filter. And our filter, the first option at the top is tags. And so I can come in and I can just choose one of the tags I have. I can search it by typing into the top search bar here. And I'm going to put I and Q. And there's my I and Q tag. And I'm going to apply that. And you can see it's empty because we haven't put anybody in it. And so nobody's in the tag but 0. I always, when you guys have people in there, you'll want to check how many are in there, just making sure that you got everybody who should be. And so now we need to put some people in there. Excuse me. So I'm going to remove the filter by hitting clear all and apply. So to add tags, first we want to sort the list. Now you have a choice. There might be a preferred way, I think, through bold, but I know agents do this in different ways. You can choose I and Q to mean everybody with a first name that starts with an I and everybody with a first name that starts with a Q, or you can do that for last names. I'm more partial personally to using the last names, but the way that you can choose is by clicking on the word name at the top of the table here. So when I click on name, I get to choose how the list is sorted by name. And so if I'm going to choose, I'm going to do A and W as our tags because those ones are easy to get to. So I'm going to sort this by last name, A to Z. And I like to do last name just because that's kind of how I always have thought about it and organized it in my head. And so I'm going to do it the same for my A and W. Oh, I already tagged A&W, so I guess I'm going to do a different one. We did S and U. We'll do S and U. All right. And so now I need to find my S and U people. And one trick to be able to utilize is over here at the top of the table, you see show 1 of 50 or show 1 of 10, maybe, if you have never changed this in your command. But if you click on that, you can change the number of contacts that show up. And so I only have a database of 466. So I could just come down and click on the 500 option, and I can see my whole database now and just scroll down until I find, let me make sure this is still sorting the way I want it to. All right, and I'm going to find my S and U's. So Julie asked in the chat, is there a way to do a negative filter, like that it's not something? And Julie, there is no negative filters yet. It is on the docket for the update for next quarter to add in negative filter and or options for filtering. All right, we got to get to some S's. Now I'm going to try a trick that I'll tell you that I don't have 100% success with, but what you can sometimes do, and it's always worth a try, is to click on the first person that has that letter in my list. And then I can scroll down to all my S's. And if I hold down the shift key, what should happen is it should select everybody in between. But I'll tell you, I don't have 100% success with this. Let's see here, where are my S's ending? There we go. So I'm going to hold my shift key down on my keyboard and click on Ann. And hey, it worked this time. Great. Now, all of these people need to be added to that S and U tag. And they're just my S's, but I'm going to take care of my S's first and then my U's. Just, you could do it all at one time if you want to be bold and brave. But I just like to work in steps. So now, oops, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to go to the top. I have 44 people selected. I always want to make sure that that matches because I'm going to pull the tag and make sure that 44 people were tagged. But now we're just going to click on this spot, this button that says select bulk action. And we'll come down to add to smart plan. And the smart plan, oh, excuse me, not add to smart plan. Gosh, thinking ahead of myself. Sorry, guys. We're going to go to add tags. And we already made our tag, so I'm just going to type that in, S and U. There it is in the teal. And we're going to hit submit. All right. Now, when you're tagging a lot of people, it does sometimes take a minute. So I wouldn't rush in and go search that tag right away. Sometimes, like I said, it just takes a minute for the whole system to update. But we'll give it a try right now. S, U. And we see all the 44 people were added in my S's. And so now I'm just going to do the same thing one more time for repetition. And I'll show you guys. I don't know if it's a trick. You can try and do this. It sometimes makes it easier if your database is big enough. But you can utilize the search bar to kind of downsize the list that you have to look at. So we're looking for U's now. And to get all my U's, instead of having everything be searched, I'm just going to search last names now. And I'm going to put a U in. And the reason that this is not 100% just an easy button is because it searches anyone with a U in their with a U anywhere in their last name. And so you can see I get a lot of people that are just going to have U's but don't start with U until I get to the end where I only have one person to add in my U section. And so I will add them in. Jessica Upoff, we're going to come down and add tags. She's going to get added to S and U and submit. So now I have my 45 people in the S and U tag. Now, if I were going through and doing an entire database, I would complete those same actions for all of the different DTD2 tags. everybody in your database should be put on those tags. When you add somebody in, that's one of the first steps you should be taking, is tagging them with your DTD2 tags so that they get put into the systems, so that when you pull up these tags, you make sure that they are getting on that list. Now, are there any questions about tagging people, searching, or anything like that for your database? All right. So when we're going in and we are actually doing the database too, if we're trying to make all of our calls for 4 calls a year, if we're trying to make all of those calls happen, then we need to do a certain number of calls each day, each week. And the number of calls just depends on the number of people in that tag. So you can see on the tag that we just did, S&U, on that tag, I'm going to have 45 calls to make, and I can split that up, but it's going to change every week. And so what we can do here is we want to make sure that we have a follow-up set for these people. We want to actually have a task reminder so that we can go right in here to tasks. I'm going to open it in a new link or a new tab. So I can go into tasks every day and see who I need to call. And being able to set this up is important for the model to make sure it gets executed. It's part of the accountability. If you see it on here and you're diligent about always going in and making sure that you get your tasks done every day, every week, then you're going to make sure that these calls get done and your business is going to be successful. And so utilizing this, I've built a plan for you guys. And I'm also going to just show you 2 different ways where there's a really simple, easy way that is a little bit more laborious, but it's easy. Or we can use a little automation in the system that I've put into the system to help you guys out. And so if we're going to go in and do the database too, we need to make a call list, or we need to make those calls. And so the simplest of things you can do at this point, we've gone through and tagged our whole database, and now everybody's in there. We have our A&Ws, we have our S&Us, our DNOs, everybody's in there. And they're all tagged. We need to actually go in and call these people. So if it's A&W week this week on Bold, what is the letters this week for calls? Does anybody know? Put it in the chat if you know. But all I have to do, if I want to just pull a tag I see, I can just click on that tag and it will filter it for me. Of course, I can also just click on filter like you saw me do before and search it here. That's a cool shortcut, especially for A&W, because you always see A&W right at the top. And look at that, I have 44 people in my A&W. How about that? So close to the other one. And what I can do just simply is click on the first person in this list. We have everybody in the list, and if I'm going to call all these people, I might as well go in and look at the contact so I know who I'm talking to, see if I have any notes about them from previous conversations, and then be able to put a note in after I call them. And so if I click on Keith, good old Keith, I can see my record over here. I can come over and check any notes. What do I know about Keith? Managing broker at KW Advantage, heck of a guy. Yep, that's true. I know Keith. I can call him. If I'm in my Command mobile app, I'll be able to call him just by clicking on this task. And that's a great little addition for us. But we can also see the number here and dial it right into our phone. That is one way to do it. But we can just go through, add a note to the call. I would actually come over to my timeline. If I called Keith and he didn't answer because he's a busy man and he doesn't have time for his Market Center Tech Trainer today. So we're going to just add the activity and we're going to say interaction type. I gave him a call and we're going to say left voicemail. And I'm not going to click has responded. If they do respond, you do want to click that. The system logs that for you in the timeline. But then we can see the note is left. But once I hang up with Keith, or if I leave my note here now, I would then click next contact at the top of the screen and repeat the process. And I would go through and I would do that until I get to the end of the list. By the end of the week, my goal would be by Friday, I would get to the end of this list. and, you know, making a note on every person, going through whether they answer or not, noting everyone, noting conversation, so that when you go back in 90 days, you remember what you see or what you talked about. And you do this every single week, and you just choose the letters and you go through it. That's the simplest system I can tell you to do. It is the least accountable. It is the least automated, but it is really simple. If I think every single one of you all can accomplish the system that I just did technology wise. But if you want to get a little bit fancy, we can start adding some different layers. So let's go over to another contact, Jeanette. And let's see, if I want to call Jeanette, add my activity like you saw me do, and let's see, I called her and we're going to say hung up on me. And we're going to click has responded and save. We see the note in there. But now if we really wanted to be diligent about our business, maybe we want to make sure we do the next call. And so we can come in and click on tasks and just create a simple task. One and done. Create task, mark as a call task. And we're just going to say DTD2 call. And we know we need to do this call in, we're going to have to do this call on maybe a Monday on the next quarter. So 13 weeks from now. And so I like to set these as priority level medium. Actually, these are really priority medium or priority level high. And then I just change my due date. It's going to go out to 1, 2, 3. And let's see, we're in the second week. And so I'm just going to put that out about 90 days out. And you can get real calculated about it and go in there and calculate 13 weeks, which is what I personally do. But I don't want to waste your guys' time with my slow math. And so I'm going to hit apply. And now I'm going to hit create task. And so 90 days from now, I'm going to get that reminder in my contact task list to give Jeanette a call. And if I go through on each contact and do that each time, instead of just making the note and moving on and just making the note and moving on, I can make the note, add the next task, and then move on. And then you're adding a little next layer to your system, because then you're just going through and checking off tasks. You're adding accountability. And now I want to show you, well, I want to pause there. Are there any questions about either of those two systems of how to run your DTD2 through command? Nicole says nope in the chat. Love it. I love the participation. All right. So now I want to show you the cool stuff. I want to show you the stuff that command can do that makes me excited. And so I built a smart plan for you that is in the vein of everything I've been talking about. And when I say I built it for you, I mean that you can download it from the library, from me, and all you have to do is just search my name, or you can search the name of this smart plan that I created. And so if you want to write it down, it's just called DTD2, all one word there, DTD2, weekly calls. You can go into the library, download it for yourself. It's a really simple plan. You can create it yourself if you'd like to change it any different than what I have. But all it does is remind you to make those phone calls. And it gives you 5 days to do so. So if you go in and add your letters on Monday to the smart plan, it will give you till that next Friday to make those calls in your task list. And now that might not sound like it makes sense until we actually put some people on the plan. And so that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to go back over to my contacts. And now we're going to kind of start with that same process. We're going to grab all the A and W's. I'm just going to click on the tag again, but you can also filter it out. But now that I have my 44 A and W's, I'm going to add them all to that smart plan that I just told you all about. And you'll be able to see it in action. It takes a little bit of time, but right now, remember, well, let's look at my tasks right now. There we go. You see we have a couple of the DTD2 calls in there and a few others. There's our call to Jeanette that's not due until later, but we see that's a purple task there. So it's due later. We don't need to worry about it quite yet. But what we want to do now is we need to put these people on the smart plan, and it's going to actually add a task into my list so that I see it for the week that I need to make those calls. And all I need to do is, again, make sure I'm showing all of my contacts, click on the button next to the word name to select all of the contacts, and select bulk action, add to smart plan. And you can search the smart plan, or if you just downloaded it, you can see it will show up right at the top. And this is where you need to make a choice, because this is an important part of running your DTD2, because you can do this into the future. You could set up your entire 2022 by just sitting down and setting up the different weeks that you're going to call each group. If you know A and W is already called when you were in bold, we'll count 13 weeks past there, come in here and say start on the following date. And then if 13 weeks, we're just going to make up a date and say 13 weeks is actually March 14th is when you need to make that call, or sometime during that week. Well, if this smart plan starts on March 14th, it'll fire off all my A and W's as a task on the 14th, and it'll show up in my task list until the 18th as a task I need to do, but won't be overdue until the 18th or until after the 18th. And so you can set up your whole year by just going in and picking each letter, tagging each group, adding each group to this smart plan, and just figuring out which week they need to go on. Maybe you need to sit down with the calendar and just put the labels in A and W, P and L. I'm always good at those two. What are the other cool ones? I need to have better ones on the fly. D and O, H and V, V and H, H and V. All right. Right now, I'm just going to put these on start now, so I can show you what happens in the task list immediately for this plan. Since today is Monday, this would be perfect thing to do that. You can also just come in here on Monday and do it for the week. That could be your setup for next year, is on the first week, your first working week, you go in and you start your A and W calls, and you just hit start now on Monday, and then you have till that Friday, and then the next Monday you come in and you do your next one and you say start now. And you can do that every quarter, because this does end at the quarter. This is a quarterly assignment that you have to do. We'll talk about more in a minute, but I'm going to confirm this and confirm again. We can see they've all been added. And so now I'm just going to give it a moment to figure out all the different kinks and people to add it to, and I'm going to hit refresh on my task screen. And we should see an update here. No update yet. No update yet. Let's check the smart plan. So when I go into my smart plan menu, oh, it's just taking its time, I think. When I go into my smart plan menu, I can see how many people are assigned to the plan in the menu. I can take a look at them. I can unsubscribe all of them in one button click, or I can come in and choose people that I would like to individually unsubscribe. But that's how you can unsubscribe people in bulk. You have the select all button up here. Just know that it only shows 20 contacts at a time. It does not show all of them. And so let's see if command is working any faster here. All right, we have our 44 on the plan. Let's see if it's added our task yet. So you can see sometimes we do need to be patient with command, but they will definitely come through. And you can see, since all of these were added today, they jumped in ahead of all the other ones that you saw down below, like follow up with Tyson and Jeanette, that are happening later and are assigned with later due dates. And we get this whole list where we can see they'll show up in our list, and I can come in and say, due next week. And all of those will show up in my list. I can also go into my app and do this same thing and make the calls right in there, where the app is going to prompt us to add a note. And just so that we can see how that kind of goes down, let's look at Keith. I'm going to click on the task for Keith here at the top. And I love the new details menu of a task, because before it was just the description and the info is basically just the task info. But now, if you look carefully, you actually get your last couple of notes about that contact. You get your tags, when they were last contacted, phone number, email. So you can kind of pull this up when you're making your calls in this list on your computer or on your phone. You get this same list in the Command mobile app, and you can kind of take a look and see, okay, well, what am I doing here? Who am I talking to? What can I talk to them about? What are their kids' names again? Whatever it is, the better you can get at recording those kind of things and being diligent about always following up, your business will grow. And so let's hit complete task and see what happens. Well, boom, it asked us actually just to put in the notes that we were having to manually do before when we talked about the real easy system that's really manual. So we can actually just now say, well, Keith, we said he did not answer, and the description is no answer. It might make you put in a description, so you got to put something in there, and we'll complete the task. And so I love that Command can do all this for us. Instead of me having to click through and go add activity, fill it out, add task, do all that, all I got to do is do this at the beginning of the week, and now my week is set. I just need to come in and finish this list by Friday this week, and then the whole thing starts over again next week. And so if I wanted to get my next week ready, I'm going to set them up too. So I'll come over to contacts. We're going to pull our S&U crew. Oops, don't want to search it. Let's filter it this time. S&U. Here's our crowd, 45. And we're going to add them to the smart plan. And now I'm going to select, instead of starting them this week, I'm going to say, okay, those are my calls for Monday next week, and hit confirm. Oops, I don't think I did the right date there. Let me try that again. Add a smart plan, select the date, and we'll do the 13th. Okay, confirm, confirm. Now, any questions about adding that smart plan into your system, where to get it, anything like that for doing the database too?
I have a question. I created a smart plan and then delayed my tags for the 13 weeks. So it's like week 1, week through 13, and then I counted it out, blah, blah. If I have a new person that I add to my contacts, and I tag them with their corresponding week, will it automatically add them to the correct week in the smart plan?
No.
Or do I have to how do I get them into the right week in the smart plan?
Good question. So if I was, let's just say Adam Smith, I just put in Adam Smith, he's brand new, I tag him S&U. So I would come in, edit his tag. And when I say I would come in, I mean, I would go into his contact card just like I am now, Jen. And I can edit his tag in here, and I would add the tag in, and then come over to smart plans and hit add to smart plan. And I would need to know when my other S&U smart plans are happening to know when to subscribe him to it. So having this written down in a calendar, like I think you said you did, that's a great note to put down for everybody else, is to write down those weeks and say week 1 of each one. So you know, okay, so Adam got added in, he's S&U, he's the 7th week. So 7th week this quarter is, that would be sometime in February. And so February 20th. And so it starts on that date. Great call, Jen. Thank you for asking the question, making me seem all smart, and you even smarter than me. I love it. Who else? What else? Great questions.
So, when you put in the date that you want them to start in, does it go like by a 5-day week? Like I'm supposed to be picking that Monday and not like the Sunday?
Correct.
Okay.
And if you want, you can go in and edit the smart plan after you download it. If you're like, hey, I want it to be 6 days, or I want them to be due by Thursday, or sooner than that, you can go in and change it once you download it for your own plan, and just whatever you need for that one.
So am I able to edit the smart plan that I downloaded that
Yes.
you made?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Of course. What other questions do y'all have?
I do have another question. If we have like those landing pages that we made, and right now we're doing that big December giveaway, and so our commands are being flooded with new leads.
Mhm.
Is there a way to like have them automatically tagged because they signed up through that particular landing page?
Good question. No, there is not an automatic way to do it, but I can show you an efficient way to do it.
I can live with that.
All right. So if I'm getting a lot of leads in, I'm probably going to make a smart view for this. So to make a smart view, start in your all contacts like I am now. And now we're going to go in and customize the columns. And so if I'm getting new leads in, I'm looking for created. If I want to see that there's been something going on, like it's people from my database responding, it's not creating a new contact, but updating a new contact, I'm going to look at those. And so I just take those and pull them up to the top, updated and created. And that's going to add them as the first two columns, and I'm going to hit apply. Now, if I'm getting new leads that are brand new leads and getting created, I can sort my list by the creation date at the top here. And you can see Christine Sanders was added the most recently to my database. So if you got a lead most recently, it will tell you right there. And it's timed out. It's not just day, it will be by the minute. And so you'll see as they come in, new leads, and you just come in and say, okay, I gave out that campaign on the 4th, so must be those. Now, if you're running multiple campaigns, it gets a little bit harder. If you have 2 different lead forms coming in, because at that point, I don't think they've put anything in. Let me check, because sometimes they trick me with updates. Come on. But because of the way that the leads come in through the lead form, the only way that's easy to see is in their timeline. Oh, this was not added that way. I'm trying to think of somebody I added through a lead form. Let's see if Mr. West is in there still. Nope. Let me see. Nope. So Jen, it'll show up over here. And it'll tell you like the name of the landing page. So it'll say something like lead source, landing page dash, and then the name of your landing page, which is what I was mentioning before with how you name it matters, because that's where it shows up, is in a little note, just like this one. Looks a little different, but I can't think of a contact I have right now in here that I put in through a lead form. And I don't know if they'll work on Zoom because of this little CAPTCHA thing.
That's okay. I'm doing it on my command while you talk.
Oh, okay. Let's see, bridges. All right. Are there any other questions? Jen, we can probably figure this out offline as well. If you have any more questions. Kyle, I see your comment in the chat. I already have multiple tickets out with support. They are working on it. I will let you know an update as soon as I get one.
Yeah, I've been having trouble with that. I mean, I can import them with first name, last name, address, email, all that. But then I've been going in individually and adding the phone number. It works that way. But like I told you before, I buy all that data, so I have like thousands of contacts. So going one by one, putting in phone numbers is, really
Unacceptable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm right there with you. They're holding up my systems as well. And so we have actually our regional tech, or not regional tech trainer, but the regional person on it as well. So it's been elevated and they are working on it. I just haven't gotten an answer yet since last week.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, of course.
Good to know, because I was about to do a one-on-one with you on that.
Ah,
I was having
well.
that same problem.
All right, 2 birds, 1 stone, answering questions for everybody. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you guys past our time that is on the schedule, but I do have one favor to ask of all of you. Well, first of all, I appreciate you all staying around, but after this class ends at 3, you're going to get an email from Calendly with a link to fill out an evaluation for how today went. And I'd love for you to go in there and be as honest as possible. I do read these. I do utilize this to try and become a better trainer for you guys. And so please go in there and fill it out. I promise it won't take more than about 30 to 60 seconds for you to fill it out. It's really short and I'd really appreciate it. So all of you guys, thank you for being here. I will see you all soon. I want to see you all on my calendar, making those individual appointments, and I'll see you all next week. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Steve. Have a
Steven.
good one.